The DNA backlog gets worse in South Africa. There's some new smoking laws for South Africa that are coming, and you could end up in jail. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the News in 5. I'm your host, Emilio. Thanks for tuning in. So I just want to take a moment and thank all the new subscribers that have joined this channel and to the old subscribers that keep coming back and watching the content. You guys are amazing. Thanks for all the likes, for all the views, and all the shares. For those of you that might be new to this channel, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it. With all that being said, let's get into it. Western Cape courts strike over 200 cases off the roll due to DNA backlog stalled investigations.
Okay, or you can hit that. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Hey.
More than 200 cases of violent crimes, including rape and murder, have been struck off the court roll in the Western Cape due to incomplete investigations. Some caused by delays in processing DNA evidence at the provincial SAPS Forensic Science Laboratory. And that's really all you need to know. I've been covering this DNA backlog story ever since Morning Shot broke the story. In case you don't know about the DNA backlog story, please go check out my playlist on it. At one point, the DNA backlog was over 200,000 cases. And this article that I'm bringing to your attention right now is exactly what myself, other commentators such as Morning Shot, Big Daddy Liberty, and other civil organizations like Action Society and DNA for Africa were warning everyone about. We all warned that there would be delays in justice, and in some unfortunate cases, victims wouldn't even see justice. Some examples of the DNA backlog affecting cases is the case of Brendan Horner and Chantel Mokoena. And I can't even go into detail about what happened to Chantel, because if I do, YouTube will flag this video. That's how horrible her death was at only the age of 4. Now, I reached out to Ian Cameron from Action Society because I wanted to get his comments on this article.
Yeah, it's really sad for us to see the amount of cases that have been struck from the roll in the Western Cape. And I mean, this is the reality across the country. We've had several cases that are being delayed, and it's simple. When these cases are delayed, it simply means that justice is denied to so many victims, and obviously in terms of closure for families of victims. So we've even had cases where victims couldn't be buried by their families because we were waiting for DNA reports to confirm the identity of the victim. So really detrimental. There's a perception that I saw in the last week or so that gave the indication or gave the idea that there is an improvement. I don't agree with it. I think it's a ring-fenced amount. It only refers to the original 300,000 backlog. So I think the backlog is actually far worse than what we know, and it certainly won't be solved by the end of January, as Minister Bekele promised.
And I gotta say, I agree 100% with Ian Cameron, because Bekele and the ANC are lying about those numbers. So countless victims are never gonna see justice, and some will be unable to give a proper burial to their loved ones. Think about that come 2024. It's time for South Africans to wake up and realize that the ANC is not defending you, nor is it protecting you, or your brothers, or your sisters, but rather the ANC is the cause of the rise in crime and lack of justice. There is no doubt in my mind that the ANC has blood on their hands. New smoking laws for South Africa are coming. You'll be fined or jailed for smoking in these areas. The Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery System Control Bill has been tabled before Parliament, starting the process of getting proposed changes for smokers and the tobacco industry into law. The bill was tabled on the 9th of December 2022 and will now proceed through the National Assembly, the National Council of Provinces, and ultimately be sent to the President for assent. Now, the laws empower the minister to make a host of regulations, which you guys can pause at this point because there's just too much to go through. But yeah, some of them are quite alarming. But one of the most interesting parts is this part. Depending on which regulation is violated, those found in contravention of the proposed laws could see themselves with a fine or a prison sentence or both. The prison sentences range between 3 months for smoking where you shouldn't and 20 years for selling tobacco products to children. Now, I do agree with that last one. That one's fine. But 3 months for smoking where you shouldn't? So let me get this straight. You can actually go to prison. You can get a criminal record for smoking in an area that you weren't supposed to. Really?
This stinks! This is total BS!
Look, I have linked the article in the description below in case you guys want to have a read for yourselves. But there is one more part of the article that I want to bring to your attention. Packaging and retail. Under the proposed laws, no form of advertising for tobacco products can exist. While this has been the case in media and sponsorships for several years already, the new bill kicks this up a notch. When enacted, no tobacco products can be visible at the point of sale, and retailers and wholesalers, with a few exceptions, may only present the products upon request by a customer. Is this some kind of like out of sight, out of mind tactic in the hopes that if you don't see the smokes, you won't feel like you need a cigarette? I mean, you're still gonna see people smoking. Like, I don't know why the government's being so strict with smokers in South Africa. I feel like we have bigger issues than smokers in South Africa. I mean, there's a huge drug problem, right? The laws would also empower the minister to determine the exact packaging for tobacco products, including the materials used and the typeface and images on display. Brand names and other identifiers will be made as standard or generic as possible. All brand elements on inside or attached to the packaging or on an individual tobacco product are prohibited unless the brand name and product name appear in standard color and typeface, together with other permitted or mandatory information such as manufacturer's details, health warnings, pictures, graphics, and images and fiscal identification markings. The laws also empower the minister to make regulations for the packaging and labeling of an electronic nicotine delivery system, electronic non-nicotine delivery system, and a tobacco device, which may also include standardized packaging. This is communism 101. Everything must look the same, everything must be the same.
Totally diabolical.
Look, I used to be a smoker. I quit a long time ago. But I do sympathize with other smokers. I think these regulations are just complete bollocks. I can't imagine why the ANC would be so strict on the packaging, the advertising, and where you can and cannot smoke. Some of this stuff doesn't even make sense. Like, I'm trying to make sense of it, but I can't. Because on the one hand, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the idea is that if people don't see the cigarettes or they don't see the flashy advertising, people won't feel like smoking, or maybe there won't be as many smokers anymore, or somehow that's going to decrease the amount of people that want to smoke or do smoke. I don't know. On the other hand, I'm thinking the ANC just wants complete power just for the sake of having power, like it's Dlamini Zuma's wet dream. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts on this story. Also, if you enjoyed this content, you might enjoy these videos, and don't forget to also check out the DNA Backlog playlist and let me know your thoughts on the DNA Backlog. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, with all that being said, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.